Rosehill show, where we just talk about interesting things and we talk to interesting people. And this evening is no different. We are going to be speaking to Scott Weatherhead. He is one of the co-owners of Mix FM. And we're also going to be talking to his wife, Anne-Marie Weatherhead, who partners with him. And it's always an amazing thing to chat with people who are married and partnering in business together. So we're going to be doing that this evening. And he is putting up his name for the candidacy. He's running for politics, so we'll talk a bit about why he got into politics. And of course, he is a businessman. We'll talk about that with 25 years experience or more. So we'll talk about a bit about how he's seen developments over the years in Barbados. And we'll spend some time talking about his conversion and the radical change that he and his wife made simultaneously. He told me, they were telling me just while we were chatting behind the scenes, and how he has been led and followed the Lord in obedience to really transforming the whole sound of Mix 96. What led to all of that radical decision, and we'll be talking about that. And in our next segment, we really will be saying a short prayer for those who have been hit by the hurricane. So we want you to stay tuned for all that. We have a very, very exciting show lined up for you as usual. So stay tuned as you hear from me, Apostle David Coulthrust, as we talk a bit with our guests tonight, both Scott and Anne-Marie Weatherhead. So stay tuned. We will be right back. Over the last several days or couple of weeks, the Caribbean has been the victim of storm after storm, weather system after weather system. This has been an amazing thing, unprecedented, I think, in the history of the Caribbean, as far as my knowledge goes, my research goes. Storm after storm after storm. At one point in time, there were 3 of these storms lined up in the Atlantic, and we were all very worried, and we were hoping that they would just shift and pass all of the Caribbean islands. But unfortunately, the last time we were here, we were hoping that, unfortunately, they made landfall. You had Harvey, you have Maria, you have Jose. A whole number of these systems that just came. And one of the things I said several years ago is, if you have the unfortunate situation of being hit on numerous occasions, which can really happen within hurricane season, you can have the unfortunate situation of more than one hurricane hitting you. You can really be devastated. You look at Barbuda. Barbuda was in line to get hit again, and God, mercy extended to them, and they were saved. But economy can be totally devastated, set back 40 years, as we've seen with Barbuda, as we've seen with Dominica. Puerto Rico has been set back. The Virgin Islands have been set back. Parts of Florida have been set back, and not to mention Texas with Harvey, all these things. I want to take this opportunity within this time that we normally share and inspire you to really, because this section is really to inspire you to change, challenge you to be different. And I want to really make an appeal to those who are consistently contributing to global warming and denying that it is a reality. I want you to really take responsibility for what you're doing. It is impacting us here in the region. And this is no longer something that is a figment of our imagination. I am making an appeal. I am joining with all of the persons who have been devastated with this hurricane. We have not been hit, but we feel the pain because we live in this hurricane belt. I just want to say to those who can make a difference in terms of climate change, who can help to reduce global warming, who can help to reduce the negative impact that human beings are having on our environment. Please, do what you can to reduce the emissions. Do what you can to reduce these gases that are warming up our atmosphere and warming up our waters. I mean, sometimes the waters are hitting 31 degrees Celsius. It is the perfect environment for these storms to grow as strong as they are. And they are projecting that while there may be fewer storms, that these fewer storms are going to be even stronger. I cannot imagine a storm stronger than the storms that have passed in this recent time. So I really want to encourage those developed nations to really take the lead, continue to take the lead in making sure that the Kyoto Protocol works, that these things work, because you are seeing the devastation across the nations of the world. And my heart goes up to all of you, and I want to encourage you, if you can in any way contribute to what is going on in Dominica in terms of relief, please do. And we just want to bow our heads in prayer. Father, just touch the people of Dominica. Just touch those who are going to be going to them. Give them wisdom, give them patience. They are going into a challenging environment. We know that there's looting across Dominica and St. Martin. Father, people are desperate. But those of us who can help, God, just give us wisdom and give us resources and bring peace to your people, Father. And we declare that good shall come out of this. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, I want you to continue to do what you can. There are several initiatives, there's several accounts all over the place. Listen to the radio. A lot of individuals are having some great initiatives to help these islands. Please contribute where you can. We will be back in a couple of minutes. When we come back, we will have a great interview with our guests, Scott and Anne-Marie Weatherhead. We'll be right back.
Good afternoon. My name is Chantal Brewster, and I have just a few persons here with me who have recently been featured on the Rosehill show. Antonio, step on in. I have here Antonio Williams. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. What do you think about the Rosehill show?
I think the Rosehill show is a very good avenue for people to display their businesses. For example, if you are a hairdresser, it's a good avenue to have a voice and show people what you can do.
Yes. And how was your experience on the show?
I had a great experience where I was able to display my entrepreneurship skills, via my stepping stones, lawn maintenance, and giving people a voice on how to take care and maintain their property.
Nice. And there we have Antonia Williams, one of our featured guests on the Rosehill show. And Antonia, if you could describe the show in one word, what would it be?
Well, one word is limited, but I would say that the show is explosive.
Explosive. Good afternoon. My name is Chantal Brewster, and I have just a few persons who were recently featured on the Rosehill show here with me today. First is Joycelyn Wong. Joycelyn, how are you today?
I am fine, thank you. And yourself?
I am great. And what do you think about this Rosehill show?
Well, I think the Rosehill show is a unique tool for evangelism. That's how I see the Rosehill show. In addition to being able to talk about your businesses, give your testimony, I do believe it's a unique tool of evangelism.
Nice. And how was your experience on the show?
I had a great experience. I was able to speak about some of the services that I offer. And yes, some of them, because there are more. So to speak about more would have taken up the whole show. So, but I did have a good experience. I was able to, like I said, I was able to speak about some of these services, and that was a good opportunity to do so.
Nice. So this is Joycelyn Wong, and she was one of our featured guests on the Rosehill show. And Joycelyn, if you could describe the show in one word, what would it be?
Unconventional.
Unconventional.
With Scott Weatherhead and Anne-Marie Weatherhead. How are you guys doing?
We're wonderful.
Good.
We're happy to be here. Thank you for
Thank
inviting
you
us.
very much for coming. It is an amazing thing when I first put the request out there on Facebook, and I said, is there any person who wants to be a part of the show? Mm-hmm. Scott, you were the first person to respond.
Was I really?
You were I was like, who's this guy? He was like on the ball.
Okay.
And we've been doing a lot of testing to make sure that we bring it up to a reasonably good standard.
Right.
So now it's good to have you. So you're the first of the first persons that have responded. So
well, thank you for finally inviting me.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Your life story is very, very interesting. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be talking a lot about all kinds of things today. You're in a lot of things. But I want to start with the ladies first.
Oh, okay. Chivalry is not lost. Well, thank you.
You're most welcome, Anne-Marie. One of the things, we're all Christians here. Mm-hmm. And
yes,
one of the things that I want to talk a bit about is your conversion and what led to that. Mm-hmm. And then I want to lead into you because I want to talk to both of you about your conversion.
Sure.
Because I think that's the most important thing that we can talk about. The rest of our life, that's an aside. But it's the Christianity that's the most important.
Wonderful.
So what is it that led to your conversion?
Well, I think it began when my husband and I were about to get married.
Okay.
And we made a decision that we were going to have God in our marriage.
Amen.
We didn't want to just get married and just not think of God, not focus on God. And but we found a cell group. We were looking for a cell group. His mother was kind enough to first direct us to an alpha group.
Alpha course.
The alpha course.
Okay.
And I think it was held at the convent at the time. And we thought, well, let's give it a shot. Let's go see what this is about. And we went to the alpha course, and there were many people there of all ages. And that was the introduction to who Christ is, using real proof, real history. And we were mesmerized by it. We loved the course. And when that course was over, we felt, okay, we need to know more. We need to know more about this Jesus. And we did Philippians over at the Roman Catholic Church. It was a short course, but it was a fill-in. And then after that, we were looking for more. So then we found a home Bible study group.
Okay.
And we attended there for 5 years. And that did it for us.
Wow.
But we attended both together at the same time. We went once a week, every week for 5 years.
Wow.
So that was our beginning.
Wow, that's amazing. How was it for you? I mean, because she can't really speak for what happened in your heart.
Sure.
So yeah, what happened in your heart?
I mean, I grew up in the church from birth until 16. Church wasn't optional. Church was you're going to church. And at 16, I decided, all right, I don't want any more of this church business. I had
You were a man by then.
Went into the world and did the things that men of the world do.
Yes.
But eventually, they say raise up a child in the ways of the Lord and he'll never depart. And so clearly that happened to me because met Anne, we spent many years together. We did the Alpha course together. And at the end of the Alpha course, we were like, right, this is where we need to be. We got baptized, we joined cell group. And from there, we both were on fire for God. We just wanted more. And I will safely say that our life has gotten incredibly interesting since coming to know the Lord. He's connected us with some amazing people who are also doing His work, who are building His kingdom. And I think that's the greatest thing really for me, is meeting new people who you never knew before, who are also about the Lord's work, and then being able to use the talents that He gave to you at birth for His work. Use them all your life for the world's purposes, and suddenly you say, Lord, these talents you gave me, I want to use them for you, so employ me, Lord. I challenge you.
Employ me, Lord. I like
Employ
that.
me, Lord. I challenge you to
this-
say those words.
Scott and Amory, this is an amazing statement for a man as a serial entrepreneur. So we can talk about that. Employ me.
Yes. I mean,
I think we both uttered those words.
absolutely.
Desperately, as a matter of fact, because, I mean, as you know, what we were into, we had a radio station,
Yes.
and
Which we will talk a bit
which we'll
about.
talk about later.
Yes.
But the employing me, Lord, is something that we both prayed for.
How did you guys meet?
Oh, wow. Annie came to work for Mix in 2002.
Yes.
We met and became friends, and we started dating. And we've been inseparable ever since.
Who approached who?
Gosh.
I don't think, you know what, there wasn't any approach, because we were friends. We were just people who worked together, and I guess it was me. I guess, I was the friendly type. But no, you're trying to trap me here to say who chased who.
Who chased
No!
There was no chasing. Sometimes there's chasing. Sometimes you meet people like, I'm going to chase after that person. I think it was more of me meeting him and becoming friends. And
Listen,
that
here's the story of how me and my wife started.
This I have to hear.
So I was interested in Carol because this year is going to be 20 years we were married.
Oh, very good.
Yes,
Wow.
I was,
That's
and
very
we were courting. We were, courting for 6 years before that, and So I saw her. I liked her, and not wanted to waste time. Right. So this is the big grand introduction here. Chivalry was certainly dead then. Right? So I go up to her and I said, "I like you. Do you like me?" That was it.
Straight
Right?
to the point.
Yes, because I didn't want to waste time. My heart was palpitating. I wanted, so that was it. So I was just trying to see if some person else had that crazy story, so that I wouldn't be walking
no,
alone.
sorry. Not too fairy tale-ish, but nevertheless.
How long have you guys been married?
Ask the husband. I'm always checking to see if he remembers how long.
So we are gonna. And Scott, I hope you wrote this down. Please have it in your hand. Get it right. I'm gonna give you a little time. Do you want me? Do you want me to switch to another subject?
Today is September the 27th.
Yes.
October 10th will be 8 years
Very good. Well done.
of marriage. But we've been together for 16 years.
16 years.
We've been together 16 years.
What's the secret?
The Lord. Absolutely, without any shadow of a doubt. If you want to be married and you want your marriage to last, invite God into your marriage
Absolutely.
from the beginning at the altar while you're in church. Don't just say the vows.
Okay.
Say, Lord, we invite you to be a third participant in this relationship. So it's not just the two of us, it's the three of us. If I have a problem with her, I'm going to him. If she has a problem with me, she's going to him. And if he has a problem with either of us, he's going to deal with us. And that really, honestly, is the recipe. I think that you cannot have a marriage without God. You can have a legal union, you can have a relationship. But if you're talking a marriage, God must be a part of it.
Marriage is his idea. The first three chapters of Genesis indicates that. Marriage is his
Absolutely.
idea. What do you think? I mean, you talked about inviting Christ into the middle of your marriage, but there's so many Christians that are their marriages are challenged. Why do you think that is? I mean, I want you to go beyond really saying invite Christ into your marriage. What do you think is the challenge that so many Christians are leaving their marriages?
I think that, one of the things I would say is doorways. Don't just be a Christian, read your Bible, and go to church on Sunday. But you must live the life. You must also practice those things which Christ taught us, how to live, how to function with one another. I think that when you leave doorways open, you allow things to get into your relationship and tear it apart. But if we practice what he taught us and how he taught us to live, not just me and you, but me and my wife with me, and you really practice them daily, I think you would stand a better chance of having it survive. But we have to know that the devil seeks to conquer and destroy, and the first place he's going to come after in a Christian couple is their marriage. Because if he can divide you, then he can conquer you. Together you're stronger, apart you're weak. So he's coming for your marriage. If you're a Christian couple, he's coming for your marriage first. Your business and your home and all those things, fine. But your marriage, that's the one he wants. And don't have a doubt. He came for our marriage a few times. I mean, we have had our challenges.
Okay.
There isn't a Christian couple who has not. So I'm just saying that you must have that. You must be plugged in. You must both be praying. You must both be dedicated to maintaining that relationship with God and keeping Him within your marriage. I think if you don't do that, if either of you says, I'm not going to focus on this, you are asking for trouble, because once you are doing work for the Lord and you are married together, He's coming for your marriage. I mean, not him, the devil is coming for your marriage. So you've got to protect that, and you've got to stay strong and stay close. Right?
Well, there's a saying that it takes a village to raise a child. I think it can also work with a marriage. I think that a marriage, yes, definitely should be between God and the couple. But certainly, remember when you got married and you walked, there was a line that perhaps the pastor or the priest said, talking to the congregation as if they were all witnesses to this marriage, and they will be held accountable. Do you promise to make sure that this couple will do what they're supposed to, and if they're in trouble? All these things that were said, and the congregation, they said, yes, we will. Well, that doesn't always come to pass. Your congregation of 150 or 300 people will not always be by your side. But it's very important to have a solid unit of a friend or friends who are Christian, who will advise you in times of trouble. Because it comes, every single marriage has conflict. And anyone who says that they're married and there's no conflict, that's not the case. So you need to have that help from your friends when you go through trouble, that you call someone to give you good, godly advice, versus, go ahead, leave him, you can do better, is what we will always hear. But truthfully, can we really do better? Because we are all flawed. We all have our brokenness that we come with when we're married. And it is through the union of a husband and wife with God that He allows us to work things through. He humbles us a lot, teaches us forgiveness. And if forgiveness is not in a marriage, it will not last.
I was really going to ask you, and you kind of answered that question. How do you really deal with the difficult times? The Bible talks about not going to sleep angry. Right? So how do you deal with the real difficult times? And the reason I'm asking these things is because there are people that will see you as the owners of Mix FM. There's Scott and Anne-Marie Weatherhead. They're Christians. They own this place, etc., etc. So it's important for them to see that you're human. You have your challenges, you have your issues, and one of the questions I will ask a bit later is that how do you manage your entire life, because you have a son who we'll talk about in a second. But I mean, how do you deal with these difficulties that really come towards you as Christians? How do you navigate these things?
Well, I'm very blessed to have a good group of friends that are Christians, that I know that if I call in a time of my husband and I having difficulty, because that's what I do. I'll lean on my mother, I'll lean on my Christian friend, and I definitely have learned to lean on God. And it's a process too, learning what to do with conflicts in a marriage. Ultimately, my advice would be take it straight to the Lord.
Okay.
I have learned after calling a wonderful friend of mine, just saying, this is how I feel, I'm really upset with my husband, he's done this, what should I do? And she pointed me to prayer. And it was just such a frustrating moment, because I just wanted her to say, just tell me things about him. Tell me, oh, he's terrible, how could he do this? And she said, no. I want you to go and pray on this. Take it to the Lord. And when I did, the Lord sorted it for me. And when I say sorted it, I mean I prayed, left him, and for some reason my heart got softer, his heart got softer, and we came together. And every time we do this, every time I take it to the Lord, I get that result.
Absolutely.
You have a 13-year-old son, Tristan, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, and if he's like any typical teenager, he's 13 going on 13.
I think you got it. Yeah, absolutely.
It is not difficult. It's not easy raising a teenager in this time. We are inundated with I mean, you guys are in the media. We're inundated with images from across the world. Back in the day in Barbados, there was no when I was growing up, there was no BT, there was no nothing, right? So now it is even more difficult to keep your child safe from all of the perverse things that are in the world. How is it raising a 13-year-old boy? And what do you do to ensure that he is raised in the patterns of and the ways of the Lord?
I mean, what I would say, I mean, from my point of view, we made a decision very early on that if we're following this course,
Yeah.
you know, with our faith, that our son had to be brought up in that from the beginning. And so, you know, we pray with him, take him to church, cell groups from the beginning. He's been there with us. We have taught him what we know, we pass on to him immediately. We've made sure that, you know, he is not just called himself a Christian, but he also lives it and separates himself from his friends who are not living that lifestyle. We make sure that, you know, he's in the right circle of friends. He has a lot of Christian friends who he socializes with who are their parents are our friends. From my point of view, that has had a very positive impact on him. Annie?
My son, let's just go back a little, because I think it's very important for mothers to pray for their children. And one of the things that I pray for my son is that God gives him a great discernment, a good ability to choose for himself. Because ultimately, we don't push on our son. We don't make decisions for him. We guide him. He sees how we live. I don't believe in forcing a child into your belief system. If your belief system works, your child will follow it naturally.
You'll want to.
And that was the process with him. While we were going to cell group, he would be with us, not in the cell group, but at the same location. He made great friends there, and he saw how it impacted on us. And then he made the step to go into a Christian camp on his own. He couldn't wait till he turned 12 to go into this camp. And I was so nervous. I thought, well, perhaps he might not like it. Perhaps he will say, Mom, why'd you make me do this? But after the camp, he came out riveted. He says, Mom, I can speak in tongues. I went, what? I can't speak in tongues.
I prayed for somebody and they were healed, Mom. You know, like, wow.
And
that's
he said,
what we're
Mom,
talking.
I can't wait to go back next year to his Christian camp.
And he was 12 at this point.
He was 12, yes, when that happened.
YWAM.
So, you know, we haven't pushed him into anything at YWAM. Wonderful place. And so he is on his own journey. He watches his parents, and we're very aware that whatever we do, and we're not perfect parents, but when we fall down, we make sure that we sit down and we say, you know, we really messed up there. Here's what we should have done. And he learns from that. And we see it coming right back at us in his own behavior.
This is amazing. It's amazing. You're balancing your marriage. You're balancing.
We're trying. We're trying.
You're balancing your marriage. You're balancing your son's life. And where does he go to school?
He goes to St. Winifred's.
How is he doing? How is he doing?
My son is a boy who never gives up. And
is this his father's personality?
He has mine.
He has her personality more than mine. More than mine.
He's inquisitive like his father.
Okay.
But he's almost a mirror of me.
Okay. I'm sure he is listening right now, watching us right now. So I'm sure he'll have some comments to make later on.
Yeah. He loves his school. And he has some great friends at the school. He has some absolutely wonderful teachers at St. Winifred's who he adores.
It's a good school.
It's a good school.
It's a good school. Wow. What's his trajectory? What is he looking like? He's going to be a serial entrepreneur?
He has no interest in radio whatsoever. Mom, no.
Thank goodness.
No, he doesn't want to go there.
Thank goodness.
My son is quite keen on inventing things that can help people. He wants to have his own YouTube channel. He's a millennial. What can I say?
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Well, with the both of you guiding him, I am sure that he will achieve whatever the Lord wants him to achieve. But believe it or not, we are 20 minutes have passed already. We've been chatting.
Incredible.
We've been chatting for about 20 minutes. And in the next segment of the show, we'll talk a bit about, your Christian ethics as far as your business is concerned.
Sure.
What led you to become a politician, and
sure.
what allowed you to release him to do.
Oh. Do we have enough time for
Yes,
that?
what was the struggle? So we'll be right back. We are here chatting with Scott and Anne-Marie Weatherhead, some amazing people who are raising an amazing child. And if you're watching Tristan, good evening.
Yes.
God bless you. And we'll be right back in a couple of seconds.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chantal Brewster, and I have just a few persons here with me who have recently been featured on the Rosehill show. Antonio, step on in. I have here Antonio Williams. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I am great. What do you think about the Rosehill show?
I think the Rosehill show is a very good avenue for people to display their businesses. For example, if you are a hairdresser, it's a good avenue to have a voice and show people what you can do.
Yes, yes. And how was your experience on the show?
I had a great experience where I was able to display my entrepreneurship skills
Nice.
via my stepping stones, lawn maintenance, and giving people advice on how to take care and maintain their property.
Nice. And there we have Antonia Williams, one of our featured guests on the Rosehill show. And Antonia, if you could describe the show in one word, what would it be?
Now, one word is limited, but I would say that the show is explosive.
Explosive. Good afternoon. My name is Chantal Brewster, and I have just a few persons who were recently featured on the Rosehill show here with me today. First is Joycelyn Wang. Joycelyn, how are you today?
I am fine, thank you. And yourself?
I am great. And what do you think about this Rosehill show?
Well, I think the Rosehill show is a unique tool for evangelism. That's how I see the Rosehill show. In addition to being able to talk about your businesses, give your testimony, I do believe it's a unique tool of evangelism.
Nice. And how was your experience on the show?
I had a great experience. I was able to speak about some of the services that I offer,
So,
and yes, some of them, because there are more. So to speak about more would have taken up the whole show. So, but I did have a good experience. I was able to, like I said, I was able to speak about some of these services, and that was a good opportunity to do so.
nice. So this is Joycelyn Wang, and she was one of our featured guests on the Rosehill show. And Joycelyn, if you could describe the show in one word, what would it be?
Unconventional.
Unconventional.
Back with Scott and Anne-Marie Weatherhead. Two amazing people, raising a wonderful son, Tristan, who is going to be an inventor.
Hopefully.
He will invent a way for us to do mass transit to Mars.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
I'll mention that one to
Yes,
him.
that's going to be necessary if mankind keeps on this trajectory where he's just destroying the planet. This is crazy. You know,
Unfortunate reality.
Yeah, we just need to. I don't know. We just mankind needs to be prayed for continuously. Well, you know, I want to pick up from a thought that I would have introduced when we were before you guys were here. You said in your bio you're a serial entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
That means he has started many businesses.
Many.
Yes. And you have been there for some of that, right? Or most of that, right?
Most of that.
Most of that, right? How has that been? When your husband comes to you
Yes.
with an idea, he says, Anne-Marie, I want to start this business. What is it?
Okay. My husband is definitely a serial entrepreneur. I don't think he can function unless he has started something
Okay.
that is meaningful to him. It's been interesting because we're sort of opposites in our marriage. I'm cautious. I don't like taking huge risks. And he will say, let's build a rocket ship in the backyard. And
Okay.
I just go, how will we do that? And he will find a way. But, you know, over the years of watching him do this, starting various businesses, it's taught me quite a bit. And also quite a bit about how God sees us. God didn't create us to be shy and cowardly, but to be bold and courageous. So when I look at him and his boldness, that borderlines, are you crazy? I see a little bit of God's backbone in him, and I admire it because one of us has to be
I'm
the
sorry.
risk taker. Sorry, honey. Sorry.
The great thing about it really is one thing I will have to say is that I would not be able to do that if I did not have an incredibly supportive wife. And that's a fact. Because
You know, I am seeing why it is that you guys have been together for 24 years, 16 years before marriage, and now 8 years.
Oh, no, 16 in total.
16 in total.
Of which
Yes.
eight are
8 and
marriage.
8. I am seeing that. You know, you say the right things. He says the right things.
You know?
Yes. He's a bit of a snake oil salesman sometimes.
snake
He's
oil
really
salesman.
good with selling, but in a good way. You know, he goes after his heart, and I can't say no. I mean, when your husband comes and he doesn't go after wild, insane things. These are all things that are close to his heart. So how can I not support that?
What led you to start the radio station? A radio station that came on the scene. I remember Mix 96 FM came on the scene with a blast. It was a new sound. You know, it took the airways. It wasn't the. It was the number. I don't know how much radio station, but it came from behind. It was a little galloping horse. It came from behind, and it quickly began to capture an audience of. It had a very youthful sound. I do listen to the radio. It had a very youthful sound. Some amazing DJs, and the song was edgy and pumping. I think at one point in time you had Little Rick was there.
No, Little Rick never actually worked on with our station, but we had KB Clean, we had
Baby Bubba.
Baby Bubba
Yes.
even at one point.
When he was a baby, now he's a king.
Many different people.
all these guys
Yes.
who came through and were amazing. Right? What led you to start the radio station?
Well, I worked in radio. I started my career in radio at 15. I worked actually while at school in Canada. My dad was in radio his whole career, so I ended up forcibly in a career that I never wanted a part of, meaning that I fell into it in the sense that I had always said never wanted to follow what my dad did. Somehow ended up working for Starcom, auditioning at 16 with Patrick Gollop, getting a job working on VOB, worked there for many years, worked at 104, did an associate degree overseas in radio and television broadcasting, couldn't get a job in that field here that really paid. Went into many other career paths, telecommunications, I was in telecom for a long time, and then this radio license opportunity came through, and you know, I wanted to develop a station that was youthful, that was a hit music format, that followed much in the lines of what I was used to listening to while living, you know, overseas. And so I put that format together in 2001 as a CHR Top 40 station, and we quickly, you know, gathered momentum among the younger demographic, and joined us in about a year later in 2002 in the midday, worked our way then to afternoon drive, and then up to morning drive time, and then she took on the role as program director, which was originally I was handling that job as well, and she was far better at the music than me. She just knew the music far better than I did, and so I let her handle that, and the station grew. We moved from Bay Street to Sheraton. We spent 9 years at Sheraton, then we moved out of Sheraton, and we've now got a new home in Hastings for the station. So it's been a long, interesting journey. It's been great working with my wife. I will have to say, a lot of people say, oh, you know, isn't it challenging working with your husband? Yeah, there have been challenges. There's no two ways about it. There have been challenges. But the reality is that I would rather not do it without her. That's the truth. I mean, I couldn't see myself just doing this on my own. It's great having the support of her strengths and her talents and what she's so good at. I do all the technical work. I do a lot of the strategy, corporate responsibilities, sales and business oversight, and deals with programming, staff. She runs the morning. She deals with content. And together, you know, it just works, the two of us. We have our defined roles. So it's been an interesting journey, and of course, us coming to our faith, you know, eventually the station came in conflict. First with Anne's faith, she came in conflict with the content we were promoting, the content we were playing. It was in conflict with her faith. I'll let her tell you more about it, but she was the first one to say, you know, 5 years ago, she said, Scott, you know, I really feel, when we were in Sugger, she said, Scott, I really feel like we should switch the station's form. We should dump the CHR Top 40 form. We should go Christian. And I was like, nope. I am not doing that. That's not going to make money. That's not going to pay the bills. That is financial and corporate suicide. And I use those words. And she sat very peacefully and she said, okay. very calm. Like, I'm not going to fight you on this. Okay. And I have seen 5 years pass, and the Lord humbled me to eat those words.
Because a
point.
buzz began to grow through Barbados that there's a possibility that another, I'm just telling you what was happening on the other end.
Oh, please do.
A buzz was going through Barbados that there is another Christian station coming.
Mhm.
And he said, but who's getting this license? And you know, as we began to research it, investigate it, we said, Mix FM is changing to gospel. He said, changing to gospel. You mean they're gonna have a gospel segment? Because that's, if they change the gospel, what is gonna happen? Well, you know, I run business as well, so you understand, right? So I'm like, glory to God, but this is a leap of faith. Probably the biggest business risk you've ever taken.
You know, to be honest with you, when we made the decision to switch, there was no financial motive. There was no motive of, we think this is a better business decision.
Right.
There was no motive of, yeah, this is from a competitive standpoint, we should do this because there's less competition. No, it was simply what we were doing became more and more in conflict with our faith, first with Anne's, to the point where she quit actually twice, saying to me, Scott, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot come here in the morning and play these songs. We're having to take out more and more songs that the content is just not acceptable. I can't do this anymore. She quit twice. And I begged her back, and she came back twice. And eventually we agreed. She added Sundays 100%. At first it was 50% of Sundays was Christian, and the whole of Sundays became Christian. Then she started to add more content into the midday and in the general day of Christian content, and with the rest, taking out more and more secular songs that were really overtly evil. And eventually, you know, we prayed. We sat together on...
Many times.
And we prayed, and we said, Lord, I remember distinctly, we prayed at the table on Good Friday. And we said, Lord, we held up and said, Lord, if this is what you want us to do, take this station and wipe the format, Lord, and change it 100% for you. I want to hear, yes, Scott, Annie, do it. And we had a few meetings with people, we had some discussions, and we talked about it, but we were waiting for this big yes. Nothing came. And then, out of the blue, someone called me and said, I need to come and see you. He said, I need to come and see you. I said, what are you coming to see me about? He says, I don't know, I think I'm supposed to see you. So I said, come and talk to me. So he came and he sat and we had a discussion, and he asked me about the business, and I was telling him what was, you know, complaining about how things were. And during that conversation, I heard the Lord very clearly say to me that I needed to change the station to Christian. In other words, and I also heard him say, you know, I also was reminded of the scripture about being lukewarm. About if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth. Either you're for me or you're against me. And with that, I left worried. I left the office and I home. And on the way, I'm calling Anne. I said, Han, listen, I just had this meeting. We need to change the station. We need to change it tonight. And she says, what? What are you talking about? I said, when I see you, I'll tell you. So I got home and I said, babe, listen, we have to change this and change it now. We're waiting on the Lord to tell us, you know, go ahead, Scott, Annie, do this. And he's waiting on us to see, well, let me see, do you have enough faith to do this on your own? And truth is, I was waiting on him, he's waiting on me. So, with no plan, we wiped the format clean, changed the station, switched it at midnight that night on May the 9th this year. And we had no plan, no marketing strategy, no financial plan. We didn't inform advertisers, clients, we just did it. In the morning, she comes to me and she says, you know, I think you should read something. So I started writing something, and we wrote basically what was published on our Facebook page, and I presented it very emotional. It was hard for me to read it, very hard. And from there, things have dramatically changed. From the time we did that, I can't begin to tell you what other things took hold in our lives for the Lord. At that moment that we made that change, it's like our whole world, the Lord said, oh, you want me to employ you? Come, I got work for you to do.
Okay. How was the journey for you? Because it started with the Lord speaking to your heart. How was that for you? And you waited 5 years.
I waited 5
How was that for
years. It was the wait was awful. The wait was I felt sick working. No, I love my job. I love working on air. I love people. I loved our listeners. Our Mix FM listeners are the best people to chat to on the phone, to entertain. They're very engaging. They will call me and speak to me on the phone. They're wonderful people. But as far as the content, as I grew and got to know the Lord closer and closer, my spirit was so convicted with every single song in such a strong way that I felt like almost as if I were committing a crime every day. And at first it was, it was sort of a weaning. It wasn't a sudden, well, now we need to play all Christian music. But certainly every single song would stand out to me, okay? And in my mind, I could hear what's wrong with that song, whether you want to call it the Holy Spirit talking to me. That song is overtly sexual. This song promotes fornication, and I just thought, I can't do this. And then I got more and more emotional because it felt like a wrong. It no longer felt like fun, wonderful music as I thought years ago. I was so tuned into this music, and I hated coming into work to the point where I'd sit at my desk and I would cry. And I would talk to the Lord and say, Father, I'm so sorry, but how do I get out of this? I love what I do. I want to work for you, but how do I do this? And it went on, and it got worse and worse and worse, to the point where I hardly spoke on air, to be honest. But it's our business, so I still had to go to work, and I can't force my husband to change his mind. I had to wait until the Lord changed his mind for him. So when he called me that night and he said, okay, well, I think I'm going to change the station. No, not I think. We're going to change the station tonight. I was shocked. I couldn't even respond. It's as if you're waiting for something all your life, and then you get it unexpectedly. You don't really know how to react. But I do remember the following day, I felt like I cried. I mean, I felt like I'm now doing what the Lord intended for me to do. It fit so well. And it felt like everything that I did all my life geared me up for that time. So
that is amazing. That journey, that faith. What advice would you give people who are at the brink of something like that? I mean, this is life changing.
We were overwhelmed with the comments from people saying, you guys are so bold and you're so courageous. And honestly, we're not. God is. We're not the bold ones. We're not the courageous ones. But certainly when you're convicted in something, you know now right from wrong. I believe now that we should listen to the Lord.
Absolutely.
When you make a decision to invite the Lord into your life, and you're asking Him for guidance, and you are learning and having a relationship with Him, and then you go against the grain, you go against His will, His personal traits, His will, it conflicts with your spirit. So if there are people out there who are conflicted, if I do this, I might not make money. It's not about the money, because God humbled us and taught us so much since we transitioned to Christian. So much. I mean, you'd have to have at least 4 other shows for us to tell you these things. But He showed us many things. But one of the things He showed us was that you are nothing without me.
Absolutely.
I am the provider for you. See, life makes us believe that it is your talent, and you went to university and you're gifted. Yes, perhaps you are, but God is the giver of everything. Everything you do, all the money you have, all the food that's on your table, you purchased it, but God allowed you to purchase that food. He is the giver, and He will provide for you. Have no fear in following Him. He will provide so perfectly as He has for us in the last 4 months.
I will say that anybody who feels on their heart that they have something that the Lord placed on their heart to do, and they have been procrastinating about it, I would encourage them to get on it, and get on it now. Because my experience is that when the Lord sets something for you to do and you don't do it, you're going to suffer until you do it. If it's for you to do, you'll suffer the consequences of not acting. Yes. That's been my experience. When He told Jonah, I want you to go to Nineveh, and Jonah was like, no, I'm going here. And then no, I want you to go to Nineveh. No, I'm going over here. So fish eats him, spends some time in suffering. At the end of that, the Lord didn't say, okay, you get it now. Okay, you can go home. He said, no, you're still going to Nineveh. So the point of the matter is that if he sets on something for you to do, you can either go the easy way or you can go the fish's belly way.
But you're going.
You're going. So that's my experience. And having learned that lesson, I have learned now that when the Lord says, Scott, I want you to do this, I'm going to do it. So when Grenville called me and said, Scott, I'm interested in having you become join the party. Having just been through that experience, knowing that elections are every 5 years. Knowing elections every 5 years, and I just went through a 5-year wait to get to the point of doing what God wanted me to do. Dare I tell the Lord, no, I'm not going to join this party. I'm not going to do this for you. And wait another 5 years? No. So I said, absolutely. Because I believe very much in what the party stands for and what they're about.
Well, we're going to talk about that in our next segment, because we're going to extend the program for just about 10 more minutes.
Okay.
Just to talk about that.
Okay.
But just before we close this segment, Anne-Marie, what was your reaction to Scott coming to you and saying, I'm going to be a part of the political landscape actively in Barbados?
I thought he lost his mind. I thought, here we go. No, really. I thought, he doesn't surprise me anymore.
Okay.
It's always something, but once again, it's always something that he's passionate about. Not the newest flashy thing, but something that is pulling his heart towards that thing. I was surprised until I learned what the party stood for. I was hesitant until I saw what they stood for, and when I saw the policies and I found out who the leader was, I had a peace in my heart regarding that.
A mature democracy encourages the emergence of other parties and other voices. If that doesn't happen, what happens is that a stagnation occurs. And that stagnation eventually, I'm also very passionate about the direction of this country.
Absolutely.
That stagnation eventually affects how we move forward, not just locally, but globally. And I think that we are in some, cases experiencing the results of that we have stifled voices. I have said to individuals, I really cannot understand how, a party loses and there's no room for their voice, really, in the policies of the nation. I don't like that. I think that we must come to the place where there's room for everyone's voice, no matter whether they are in or outside of the house. And that really is the model going forward, because at the end of the day, all of us live here. And it is not only elected officials that have ideas. As a matter of fact, some of the greatest ideas come from persons outside of Barbados.
Sure.
You didn't just get ideas when you decided to sign up for Solutions Barbados. Grenville Phillips didn't just become intelligent when he formed the party.
Sure.
You had ideas, but what happens is that there is not the room, the atmosphere, the attitude to encourage these individuals who are clearly intelligent, who sometimes don't have any ulterior motives, but to say, I want to live in an environment that's peaceful, that's prosperous. I want to have Tristan come up in an environment where he can invent and where he can be employed outside of mix, because he doesn't want to be on radio.
I don't want him to be. Definitely not.
Right? That those things are possible. That you can go and study in Canada and come back and find opportunities to work in your field of passion, right? And that cannot come from 30 individuals alone, right? We have 250,000 people who are said to be 99% literate.
Right.
We have to find a way to plug into that amazing stream that is present on no part of the planet, maybe with the exception of Japan. There's no other country that is that literate. And for a small country with limited resources, to achieve that, it is amazing. But it is like having an oil well and cooking with wood. We need to be able to plug into our people. And this is why I'm excited about the parties that are emerging. But we will come right back. You take a short commercial break and we'll come right back. and we'll talk about, not diving into your party or the
Sure.
policies, but we want to talk about how you see Barbados.
Sure.
And you've been an entrepreneur for about 25 years, and what have you seen change, and what would you hope to see going forward? So we'll be back in a couple of seconds to talk more with Scott and Amory, Weatherhead, amazing people who are doing great things in Barbados, both now, and I know that they will be doing great things in the future. So we will be right back.
Good afternoon.
All
My
right,
name
so
is Chantal
we'll be talking
Brewster,
about
and I
this.
have just a few persons here with me who were recently featured on the Rosehill show. And I have Kailashi. Kai, come on in. How are you doing, Kai?
I am doing great. How are you?
I am great. And what do you think about the Rosehill show?
I think the show was actually really, really great when it was on it. I think it's serving its purpose of, giving those persons that don't have a voice,
Yes.
a voice, right?
Yes.
Being on that show, it was great, man.
And how was your experience then? Other than great.
It was exciting, right? It was exciting. Just being in that environment, especially as an entrepreneur, in an interview, it brings things, to life. It was real. I love that for sure, right? And I think it's going to really impact network individuals as well.
And there you have Kai Lashi, one of our featured guests on the Rosehill show. And Kai, if you could describe the show in one word, what would it be?
One word. I would say impactful.
Nice. Impactful.
Welcome back. We are talking to Scott and Anne-Marie Weatherhead, and their life is very, very diverse. They've met the Lord, and now we are about to talk about their journey into politics. Their journey. He almost shocked the living daylights out of Anne-Marie when he talked about joining the political party. But I'm more interested, Scott, in before we get into politics in depth. You've been a businessman for 25 years plus, a serial entrepreneur, have started many things. What have you seen over the course of your life in Barbados in the business landscape, and how does it compare to now? Because things are challenging, but how does it compare?
This is absolutely, without a doubt, the worst time for business in the history of Barbados.
Wow.
Without any doubt. For me, my personal experience with my own businesses is that access to capital, access to finance for small businesses and medium businesses is very difficult. For young people leaving school, wanting to start their own small business, it is next to impossible to get funding, to get finance, to get capital, to get started. And so this, to some large degree, contributes to the lottery block culture that you see. These guys who are linemen on the block, I believe that these guys should be starting their own businesses. They should be taught at school level how to start your own business when you come out of school, whether it is you're bottling juices, whether it is you're making furniture, whether it is you're doing some electrical works, you're constructing a product that you can sell. I believe that this is something that should begin in school, so that when these guys leave school, if they don't have an immediate job opportunity, then they can say, well, I haven't gotten a job, but I can start my own business. The problem with that is that you say, oh, go start my own business, but to start a business, as you would well know, takes capital.
I want to say something to you. Sorry for interrupting.
Sure.
I want to say something. And I said this to an entrepreneur that was on the show. The United States of America, the culture in their school, if you have a project, you set up a lemonade stand, and you sell lemonade.
And that teaches basic business skills.
In Barbados, if you want to raise funds, we give our children sponsor options.
It doesn't teach them how to make money because they're begging for it instead of working for it.
Exactly, and that is affecting entrepreneurship. How would teaching or people about entrepreneurship? Because I want to ask, we don't have a lot of time. I want to ask several questions. How can that change the economic landscape?
Oh, tremendously. You would have heard on the news recently, Keith Miller is involved with a project where, I think it's highly important that children, young people, come out of school with a skill, not just O levels, CXCs,
Right.
CAPE. They need to come out with a skill so that when they get into the workplace, if there's no job opportunities or they get laid off from the work, that they can start to think about creating their own small business, but that must be supported by an infrastructure from a government point of view that assists them somehow in being able to establish their business, whether it's access to capital, access to funding and financing, support mechanisms. And these are the things that are sorely lacking now, and which I think needs to be the focus going forward for any government for Barbados. I think, as you said before, that our greatest asset is our people, and we have one of the best education systems in the world right here in Barbados, and certainly the Caribbean. And we need to leverage the strengths of our people in that sense, that we need to equip them with the skills that business is what we're about, because ultimately that's how the economy generates its income, is through business activity. So I think that's extremely important. I have worked for people, I've had jobs, of course, jobs which I enjoyed, but I always use my job as a learning period for me. So I could learn from my employer, from what I was doing with them, so that I could use that skill for my own business later on. So I never saw a job working as an employee for a company as I'm going to work for 40 years and I'm going to grow the ladder. I always saw it as this is my learning exercise, this is my training. I will take away this knowledge and I will use it for myself later on, so I can work for myself rather than work for somebody else.
There are studies that say, in relation to entrepreneurship, that one of the things that hinders entrepreneurship, particularly in developing countries, is a high presence of risk aversion. Mm-hmm. Do you think that we are trained to be risk averse?
That we're trained to be risk averse? I wouldn't say so. I think it's a personality type. I think there are certain people that are absolutely averse to risk. My wife is a classic example. She is not going to take any form of risk whatsoever. And there's another type of personality who is willing to take a risk. There are people who are gamblers by nature. Why? Because they're risk takers to start with. And there are people who will never put $1 in a slot machine. I'm one of those people that wouldn't put $1 in a slot machine. But I am still willing to take calculated risk. And I think that is important. Are we training up a population to be risk averse? I don't think so. I think it's more personality type. I think it's your upbringing. I think it's your background. Barbados is a strange country. Barbados is a country where business succeeds on the basis of relationship first and quality of your product and service second.
There's a high degree of nepotism.
That's my experience. My experience is that relationships are critical to business in Barbados. And so these are some of the challenges that we face. And certainly I have experienced many challenges with respect to finance and access to capital. These are still going on even now. I think we still haven't broken down some of those issues, and that contributes significantly to some of the problems we have. I think all these young people that you see sitting at the block, unemployed, don't have anything to do, these guys should be learning a trade so they can be out there contributing to the economy meaningfully.
Where do you see Barbados in the next 50 years?
From my point of view, I believe strongly that if the level of political change happens in the coming 6 to 9 months that is expected to happen, that we all hope will happen, my expectation is that Barbados will rebound to tremendous growth and prosperity. That's my expectation. I think that we have been the gem of the Caribbean for a very long time, and I sincerely believe we have an opportunity to be that. The Lord has blessed this country tremendously. We've avoided major hurricanes and catastrophes for many, many, many years. Do I think that's going to continue ad infinitum while our population continues to carry on in any way and reject the Lord and not really focus on Him? No, I think that if we continue to reject God in Barbados as a people, there will come a time that He will bring you back. And if it means a hurricane to bring you back, it may be that. And I don't want to live in a country where that takes place. I think it's important that the leadership of the churches in Barbados really, try to, that people really listen to the leadership. We've been praying for righteous leadership in Barbados for years. For years, churches have been praying for it. Have we seen a complete crop of righteous leadership come before the House of Assembly? No. Certainly there have been people elected who are godly men and women in this country. There are some today. But I think that is the critical component that is missing in Barbados now. That is bringing the Lord front and center of not just the country, not just in our national anthem that we sing, the Lord has been our people's guide for the past 300 years, but meaningfully, we've named all of our parishes after the Lord, or one after his church. But yet, do we make him front and center of everything we do in Barbados? And from my point of view, no. And I think we really need to.
Well, we have just 5 minutes left, and we can go on talking about so many different things. We're in the midst of Barbados' Jubilee, which is a very, very important spiritual thing. And just before we wrap up, I just want you, each one of you, I'll give you that 5 minutes to just say something to the nation. Just look into the camera, say something to the nation. I'll start with the lady first.
Oh my.
You will find words. Say something to the nation, some person out there who may be struggling, who may be, on the brink of a decision or whatever. The Lord will lead you. Just say something encouraging to them, and then we'll let Scott do it, and then we'll finish.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking of this morning as I was on air with Pastor Andre Simmons. I said to him, Pastor Simmons, you must have a lot of people coming to you asking for advice, and because you're a pastor. And he said, yes, that's true, but they should take it to God. They should take it to God first. He is the one that wants to hear from them. And I think that God is missing hearing from a lot of us. Certainly, with my life, I have not spoken to the Lord as much as I should, but I'm in a different place now. But Barbados is a beautiful place, and it's a beautiful place because the Lord is with us. Where there is peace, there is God. And if you're not feeling peace, then we can easily grasp that peace by appealing to the Lord. So I think that Barbadians are wonderful people who love the Lord. We all have that foundation. It's not something that's unreachable for us. So my advice to anyone listening in is if you have, you're going through hardships right now, you're feeling lost, you're feeling confused, God is at your fingertips and just a prayer away.
Really. That's very powerful.
Okay.
I would say, this, our 50th year of Jubilee, is a very important year for Barbados. I think that this year we should strive hard to love our neighbor. Christ said, I leave you with 2 new commandments. One is love God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind. And the second is to love everyone as I have loved you. He didn't say love everyone as you love yourself, as many people quote. He said, love your neighbor as I have loved you. And Christ died for us. So he set the bar really high in terms of what he expects of us in terms of love. So I would say this year, before we end our 50th year of Jubilee, show everyone, people you know, you don't know, love. We need to be a loving society. We need to love everyone, not just our spouses, not just our children, but our neighbor, people we don't know. I think that's the most important message here. Love God first and love everybody else the way Christ loved you.
Well, we have been here with Scott and Amory Weatherhead. Amazing stories, and we can go on and on talking to them about their entire life, how they're raising their a wonderful son, Tristan, 13 years old, the future inventor.
Yes.
And their journey and their bold steps to follow the Lord and to just change over from a secular station to a station that is not just Christian, but is Christian and consistent with their beliefs, which is very, very important. And I want to ask God to bless your endeavors.
Thank you.
Bless you in your coming campaign. It's not going to be easy. This election is a election that will define Barbados for the next 50 to 100 years. That's what's going to happen. So may the Lord instill His government in His people. That's my
Absolutely.
prayer. That's my prayer, that the Lord will have His way. He will not be shut up with this nation, because we know that that can happen. Right? But we don't want the Lord to be shut up with this nation or the political process. So may the Lord bless you. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you for inviting us.
Amazing talking to you. We'll take a short commercial break and we'll be right back to just.
Good afternoon. My name is Chantal Brewster, and I have just a few persons here with me who were recently featured on the Rosehill show. And I have Kailashi Kai come on in. How are you doing,
I
Kai?
am doing great. How are you?
I am great. And what do you think about the Rosehill show?
I think the show was actually really, really great. When it was on it, I think it's serving its purpose of, giving those persons that don't have a voice,
Yes.
a voice, right?
Yes.
Being on that show, it was great, man.
And how was your experience then? Other than great.
It was exciting, right? It was exciting. Just being in that environment, especially as an entrepreneur, in an interview, it brings things, to life. It was real. I love that for sure, right? And I think it's going to really impact those individuals as well.
And there you have Kai Lashley, one of our featured guests on the Rosehill show. And Kai, if you could describe the show in one word, what would it be?
One word. I would say impactful.
Nice. Impactful.
Of the show. Thank you for joining us this evening. It has been amazing talking to two wonderful people of God, Scott and Anne-Marie Weatherhead, the owners, co-owners of Mix 96, an amazing station now, a Christian station doing powerful ministry. So thank you for joining us. Join us next week, same time, same place, as we interview some more amazing people. We are heading in to some amazing times on this network. We want you to keep joining us, keep sharing it. Whatever responses, whatever advice you have for us, we are willing to take that. So share it with your friends. Thank you once again. Keep praying for Dominica. Keep praying for Barbuda. Keep praying for Puerto Rico. Keep praying for Mexico. Keep praying for Florida, for Texas, any place that has been touched by any natural disaster. Please keep praying for them. Have a wonderful evening. God bless you from the Rosehill Show and all the team of wonderful people that we have here making it happen. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.